Hi, grade 10, open your literature book, page 2 or 3. In the previous video, I asked you to highlight this paragraph which shows the pattern of organization, cause and effect, and shows the main purpose is to explain the process of leaves falling. Don't forget that the author used three patterns of organization to arrange the ideas or to present her ideas. Okay? Now, I want to highlight these lines. These lines tell you which countries have the most amazing scene of leaves falling, and you have to focus on the meaning of the word foliage. Foliage means leaves. Okay, United States and China have the most spectacular range of fall foliage, so the most amazing. You can enjoy leaves falling in the United States and China. Okay. Highlight this vocab. Petiole, which means the stalks of leaves. Look at this drawing. This is the stalk of leaf or stem. Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a green pigment in plants, and this pigment helps plants absorb sunlight to make sugar. Okay. Now move to the next page, page 204. Okay. Now highlight the first paragraph and look at the question here. You have to know that the author here used scientific diction or scientific words to explain the process of making leaves turn color. Okay, and the question here asks you to circle two scientific terms for pigments. Now you have to know something that the author tells us that the leaves began to show yellow and red as the chlorophyll breaks down. With no pigment being produced, all the leaves will turn color over time. She tells us that there are two pigments. The first pigment is anthocyanin, the second one is carotenoids. Circle these two scientific dictions, anthocyanin and carotenoids. These pigments are in plants and make leaves turn color. Now, this paragraph shows the difference between these two um, uh, pigments. So the pattern of organization is comparison and contrast. You write this note. When I ask you what pattern of organization mentioned here, you have to say comparison and contrast because the author gives us the difference between these two terms. Now, so this is the answer of this question. How do these pigments differ from each other? This is the answer. Anthocyanin, the pigment that gives apples the red and turn leaves red. So any plant, any plant has red fruits like apples. It means that this plant has anthocyanin. So anthocyanin is responsible for making leaves turn red. Okay, by carotenoids, you can find this pigment in carrot, squash and corn, and turn leaves orange and yellow. So carotenoids turn leaves orange and yellow. Okay, so when you see banana, corn, you have to know that it has carotenoid. But if you see apple, for example, and strawberry, you have to know that these plants have what, anthocyanin. Okay, don't forget to write this note. Now highlight these lines. The author here informs that this process occurs all over the world and explains that different trees and species of plants in other parts of the world change to different colors due to the climate. Whereas in European maples don't have the red coloring, for example, that the American maples have, because it's warmer in part of the world than the other. Okay, so she gives me references to many different types of plants and the colors they change to. Look at this point. Not all leaves turn the same color. For example, you have these plants. Number one, elms, weeping willow, and ancient ginkgo. Now, these three plants, you can see the photos of these trees through internet. Okay, the color of their leaves are radiant yellow. Okay, now For example, basswood turns bronze, birches, birches, flexible trees. A bright gold maple is scarlet, which means bright red. Okay, so not all leaves turn the same color. Okay, now I want you to move to the last lines. Now, you have to know that these lines, in which Ackerman or Diane Ackerman, the author, reflects on the death of living things, okay, including human beings. So, you have to know that Diane Ackerman makes a reference that the fall colors signal death and goes on to explain how death brings in your life in the end. Now, look at these lines. We find the sizzling colors thrilling, which means exciting. You know that watching turning color is exciting, but at the same time, they dupe us, which means fool us. How? Colored like living things, they signal death and disintegration, which means decay. They will become fragile and like the body return to dust. Here, the figure of speech is simile. She compared the fragile or the fragile leaves to what? To body or to the dead body. Okay. They are as we hope our own fate will be when we die, not to vanish, just to sublime from one beautiful state into another. And I wanted to highlight the meaning of sublime, to transform directly to another state. Okay. These lines mean that people hope they won't vanish when they die, but instead transformed into another kind of life. So all people, like leaves, hope not to vanish, just to live another life, another beautiful life. Okay, and this is the answer of this question here. Okay, I want you to look at this question here. What does she say we hope for ourselves? This is the answer for ourselves. People hope they won't vanish when they die, but instead transformed into another kind of life. Okay? Now, I want you to highlight just these lines, and you have to know the pattern of organization used here. I told you that the author used three patterns of organization. The first one, cause and effect, and I gave the example of that. Number two, contrast and comparison, when she shows the difference between anthocyanin and carotenoids. Now, here the pattern of organization used here is the pattern of the main idea. Okay, so you have to write the pattern of organization, main idea, and supporting details. The main idea here is we call the season fall from the Old English fallen to fall. So here, this is the main idea, right? This is the main idea of this paragraph. Now she will explain the main idea by giving more supporting details. Okay, so the pattern of organization is main idea and supporting details, and she shows the main idea we call the season fall. She will tell us the origin of the word fall from the Old English fallen to fall. Now the details. Number one, the first supporting detail. To fall, which leads back through time to the Indo-European fall, okay, which means to fall. Number two, the word fall reminded of that other fall in the Garden of Eden, okay, which mentioned in the Bible and Quran. You know that the Garden of Eden is an example of allusion, right? Allusion next to this. Allusion means a reference taken from a holy book. If you take words from a holy book is called allusion. So Garden of Eden. So the author gives us another detail to support the main idea, the origin of the word fall, that this word comes from the Bible, the Garden of Eden, when fig leaves never withered, which means become dry and scales fell from our eyes. The third supporting detail is fall is the time when leaves fall from the trees, just as spring is when flowers spring up, summer is when we simmer, which means boil, and winter is when we wine from the cold. So these are the three supporting details which support the main idea of the first line, we call the season fall from the Old English falling to fall.